We're going to change a bicycle tire. Hello and welcome. Welcome to Input English. So today's episode is in preparation for a future trip to San Francisco. Many times when you go to San Francisco, you drive to your destination. Other times you could take BART and use the public transit system, which in San Francisco is excellent. But there are some places in this area where a bicycle would be useful. And one of those is our trip to Angel Island. Angel Island doesn't have cars. I can't drive there. I can go there on a ferry and I can walk around, or I can take a bicycle with me. You can also rent bicycles once you're at Angel Island. So I have a bicycle. It's compact and indeed it is foldable. So it's ideal for this kind of a trip. But the catch on this bicycle is I have not used it in many years. Partially owing to the pandemic, it has been sitting and sitting and sitting. So a bicycle that's kept indoors, particularly in the dry climate of California, the metal parts are not going to deteriorate. They might get dusty, they might get spider webs on them, but they're not going to deteriorate. Other things can deteriorate, and the thing I worry about is the tires and the tube. I did a thought experiment. I thought about how it would be visiting Angel Island, making video, showing you around with a bicycle. And what came to mind is the distinct possibility that I would get a flat tire and have to push the bicycle around coming back to the ferry. That would be dreadful. So, in preparation for this visit to Angel Island, I'm going to change the tires on the bicycle. So I invite you to join me on that little chore. You may be familiar with it. Of course, we're making comprehensible input, so the discussion will anchor this English language discussion to things that you can see and interpret. Bicycle tires come in many types. The most common bicycle tire that I have ever seen is a tire with an inner tube, and the inner tube has a Schrader valve. The Schrader valve is the port into which you put the compressed air to inflate the tire. And Schrader valve is used for automotive tires, and it's used for a lot of bicycle tires. There are other valves used for bicycle tires. Presta tire valves are used on some bicycles and have some popularity. My tire has a Schrader valve. There's a third type of valve called a Dunlop, and I have never seen one. So we're going to change the tire, we're going to change the inner tube, and I'm going to inflate it in anticipation of our trip. Now, my bicycle has two wheels. I'm going to demonstrate changing the tire on one of them, and you can assume that changing the tire on the other one will be substantially the same. I have my safety glasses on. I found them. These safety glasses I've had for a number of years. They have a prescription in them, so they're very easy for me to see what I'm doing, but they have eye protection and they are good for our purposes. So safety glasses are in place and I have my tire. Now, this tire, or this wheel rather, this wheel has a quick release. And if you have a tire or wheel assembly like this, that is not on the bicycle. The question is, what's the right and what's the left side? There is a convention. If your tire has a quick release, that goes on the left side. So you may assume that this wheel turns this way. So I'm going to remove this tire, remove the inner tube, and then we'll put the new one on. Okay, if we're going to change a tire, we need the wheel assembly with the tire we're going to remove. So that's one of the things we need, but we need other things. I need some tools. Now these are levers for removing the tire from the rim. They come usually in a set of 3. So I have my 3 levers. What else do I need? Well, I need the new tire. So I have that, and it's the correct size. So I also have the inner tube here. So all the parts I need are in place. So let's get started. The first thing I do is deflate the tire, but it's already deflated. There's no compressed air in the tire. It is not inflated. The lever gets placed over the rim and under the bead. This lever set has a feature that the other end has a hook, and that hooks the spoke. So this is in place. It will not need me to hold it in place. So now, working from the lever that I have in place, you can see that this is just zipping right off. This is not difficult. So now we have the first bead broken loose from the rim, and I have the inner tube here. So I can pull the inner tube out. If you're just changing the inner tube, you really don't have to take the tire completely off. You can, but this inner tube is easy to remove. So now I have the inner tube out. So now it's just a matter of getting the tire off the rim, and this is usually not very difficult. So now I've dismounted the tire. This is the old tire. Looks okay, but given how old it is, I don't judge that it is trustworthy. I don't want to take it on a trip and wind up stranded. So it's off. I checked the rim. The rim runs true. As I let it rotate, holding the bearing, it's not wobbling. There are no nicks in the rim. It's not off of round. It looks fine. And that makes sense because I've never damaged this rim or tire in the past. It just got old. So the next thing I need to do is get the new inner tube and the new tire. We've established this is the left side. And so the rotation is this way in this projection counterclockwise. So I'm going to pull up the new tire and match it. So this says rotation and the arrow points that way. So this tire mounts like this. So now I have one of the beads inside the rim, and we're ready to put in the inner tube. Now this inner tube is flat. It's right out of the box and it has no air in it. So I'm going to use the bicycle pump to put a little bit of air in it so that I can have a little bit of form and be able to maneuver it into place. So I've used the bicycle pump to put enough air in this that it is easier to manage. This is the valve stem. It has a Schrader valve. And I need to put it through the hole in the rim. So now it is just a matter of tucking the inner tube into the tire without twisting it and without using any sharp tools that would puncture it. I'm going to put the valve stem cover back on it just to keep it from coming out. Now it's important that the valve stem be perpendicular. You don't want it at an angle, and we'll set that when we inflate it to make sure it is correct. So now we have one bead is inside the rim, the other bead is outside the rim, and the entire inner tube is inside the tire. So now it is just a matter of mounting the second bead to the rim. For this part, you don't really need tools. So to review, we removed the tire and the inner tube. I inspected the rim and it looked fine. There were no repairs needed for the rim. I established the direction of rotation because the convention for quick release is that's on the left side. Most people get on bicycles from the left side of the bicycle, swinging their right leg over. And so the convention is quick release is usually on the left side. That establishes the direction of rotation this way. The tire has a mark right here that says rotation pointing that way. And so I matched that. I remounted the first rim. I put the inner tube in, having put a little bit of air in it so it was more sausage-like rather than flat. The flat inner tube right out of the box is pretty much impossible to manage. But putting a little bit of air in it with the tire pump made it super easy. I wanted to make sure that this valve is perpendicular to the rim. You don't want it at an angle because that can cause a valve stem failure as you ride it over time. Then I used the levers, the tire levers, to put the second rim on. And once it was completely seated all around and I was sure that the valve stem was perpendicular, I pumped it up a little bit, inspected it, and then brought it up to pressure. I put 60 pounds per square inch in it, which is well within the specified range of pressures for this tire. So we have a new tire on our front wheel, and then I will do the other one. It's going to be just like this, and then we can make sure that the bicycle is properly adjusted. It should be because it hasn't been wrecked or abused. It was fine when I put it away, so it should be pretty much okay. I'll test drive it in the neighborhood and then we'll take it to Angel Island for our adventure. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions or concerns, put them in the comment section below, and I look forward to seeing you on future videos.